Let me turn this back around, y'all. I told y'all I'm learning this live. I'm learning this TikTok live thing. All right, all right, all right. So without further ado, guys, thank you all for joining us tonight on this live. We are making it our priority to do this maybe once a month, if not more, to share the wealth of information on home buying and the ease of home buying. As long as we do everything we need to do up front, trust me, the ease down the line is a whole lot better. So, like I said, I'm joined with Carly McLeod with Fairway Mortgage. We work together, a great team we are. And so
Yes.
we want today to give you guys a real life scenario, take you through the home buying process, not just in front of y'all, just giving you information, but we want to show you on the screen as well a house that's potential that's on the market right now. And Carly will go into any kind of down payment assistance programs that's available, any closing cost assistance programs that's available also, right? So Carly, um, I think I gave her name. Sally Thomas is our client for today. Thompson, Sally Thompson, right?
Sally Thompson.
So Sally Thompson is a first-time home buyer, and she was online searching, and she found this house that she liked, and she reached out to Kenesha, and she said, "Hey, Kenesha, I'm interested in purchasing this home." Right, Carly? And so I said, "Okay, Sally, that's great. First things first, Sally. There are two things I'll need to do with you, right? So, as your real estate agent, there's two things. First things first is I need to tell you about the buyer's representation agreement, which all agents throughout the whole United States, we must disclose this before we can do any kind of transaction with anyone, right? It's disclosing what my duties are as your real estate agent, and that I will keep all your information confidential, as well as it gives you information on your do's and don'ts as a buyer as well, right? Once we get that document signed, and I am now your real estate agent, guys, the next thing and most important thing is I'm going to get you over there to Carly so she can get you guys pre-qualified, all right? Because without a pre-qualification, guys, I cannot take you out. Why? Because I don't know what house to sell you. I don't know what to bring you to. I need a dollar amount so I can go ahead and start looking for homes. So Carly, what I can do is I can pull up that house if you like me to start
Yeah.
there. And Sally came to you, Carly, and she's interested. And what will you tell Sally, and what information and documents will you be requiring from Sally?
Yeah. So what we do is we sit down and we have a little conversation together. Doesn't have to be long. 15-20 minutes is good. And we'll go over. So I'm the numbers person, right? So I'm getting you anything related to the house and what neighborhood you want to be in and what type of house. Those are all Kanisha questions. Anything related to money, closing costs, down payment, how much can I afford? That's where you come to the loan officer. So
Yeah.
we'll have our first conversation. We'll go over kind of what your needs or your wants are. You can tell me if there's a firm monthly payment that you want to be under. We will talk about things, three big things, right? We will talk about your credit. And obviously, you might not know exactly what your credit is at that time, but get an idea of kind of where we are in a general spectrum. And when we do move forward, I can do a soft pull so it doesn't ding your credit. I'll
Okay.
ask about your credit. I'll ask about your income. So that is your job, whether you're a W 2 employee, whether you're retired and only on disability, Social Security, anything like that. And then the third thing that I'll ask about is what we call assets. So, what is the money that you have available for closing? Is that something from your savings account? Is that something from that you're going to take from your 401k? Are you getting a gift with family? Or do you need me as a loan officer to help you get something called down payment assistance, which is a fixed amount of money that will go towards your down payment and closing costs? And
Mm,
that's a big thing here in the state of Florida. We use it all the time. And it really helps. Even if you have the money, you can always still go down payment assistance route if you want. Just keeping in mind that most of the down payment assistance programs are not grants. They are money that you have to pay back at some point, but you usually don't have to think about that for a long time.
a long
And then
time.
once we do all that and we have that conversation, you do an application, I review it, and you just have to give me your documents to support everything that you've said in your application. So if you say you work at Target and you make $25 an hour, I will need a pay stub that says that, basically. If you say you have $25,000 in the bank that you've saved for down payment and closing costs, I will need a bank statement to see that. So anything that supports what you tell me in the application, basically what I'm going to request. I'm not looking at all this stuff to see your bank statements, where you eat at every day, how many times you've been to Chick-fil-A. I don't care about any of that. We're looking for large deposits that go into your bank account, anything weird that maybe wasn't disclosed, on your application, things like that.
Mhm.
So, and then once we have all those boxes checked, then I send you back to Kenesha with a pre-approval letter in hand, and that's when you start shopping.
Mhm. Yes, 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 Carly. And so, in a nutshell, that's where we are. And so, my good friend Carly then says to me, "Hey, Kenesha, Sally has now been pre-qualified, right? You are good to go to start shopping. All right. So Sally and I are excited. And so now I've taken Sally out. Can you see my screen, Carly, with the
I see
home?
you. I see you.
Okay. Let me see. I didn't do the share thing again. Okay. All right. And so this home in particular, guys, that I said I wanted to show everyone, it's currently on the market and is listed for $440,000, right? So with this home, Carly, if someone wanted to use their VA home loan, right? We already know it's a 0% down payment for this loan, right?
Right.
At the current market interest rate, and we can go over this closer to the end, Carly, once I finish going through the process. But what I want to show these guys is, what do this look like? What do the scenario of purchasing this particular home look like using the VA loan, using the FHA loan, and also using the conventional loan? Because people are different, and different people are going to use different type of loan, right? And so therefore, with the FHA loan, you're going to have a down payment of 3.5%. And then with the conventional loan, it could be anywhere from 5 to 25%, right? And so we'll give you the numbers with that, right? As well as I'll also asked Carly to break down like the taxes, the estimated taxes, and the estimated insurance costs for there. So that way you have the escrow, which is your taxes and insurance, all with your principal also. So you get to see what a real life estimated monthly amount will be for a 440,000 home in Green Cove. So I have Sally's pre-approval in hand, guys. We then go out and view the home. So that's the next process. We go and view this home that Sally said that she's interested in. Sally said, "Yes, Kenesha, I do like this house and I want to move forward with an offer." What I do then is I do a market analysis on this property to make sure that, hey, let's make sure that we're going to go in with a fair offer as well as a strong offer. So that market analysis allows me to see what are the other homes in this neighborhood or this area is selling for, right? And so once we get to a good sales price that we want to offer to the seller, we go ahead and write up that contract, right? And so in that contract is many other things other than the price, guys. I know a lot of times we get fixated on the sales price, but you have inspection period, you have closing cost assistance that you can ask for, you can ask for your broker's commission in there, you can ask for the survey. It's other things you can ask for. If the seller is not willing to come down on the price, you'll see while we're negotiating, we may need to negotiate some other things outside of price, right? And so we make ourselves a great contract, and then I go ahead and I submit that over to the seller. Now the seller has the opportunity to come back and counter your offer, or they can just totally reject it. Like, let's say we went in very low. 10 out of 10 times, most sellers may come back and say, "No, I don't even want to counter that offer," depending on how much in a bind they are and how quickly they need to get this home sold. So therefore, once we negotiate and we go back and forth with the seller, we have a bona fide deal. Okay. From there, many different parts start moving because your realtor is not the only person that's representing you in the transaction. You just dealt with Carly, like I said. So you have myself, you have Carly, you're going to have the title company as well, right? That's going to be hands on once you go under contract. So do not be afraid. There are going to be a lot of hands there, right? But nevertheless, we are all there to help take care of you. So once we send the contracts over to Carly and also to the title company, we all have roles that we're playing. My role as your real estate agent is to continue to keep this deal going the house wise to make sure everything with this house is sufficient and good. We're going to go through the inspection period. Typically, we ask for a 10-day inspection period, guys, and I would say take it and go ahead and do a home inspection because you've never lived in that house before, right? So you want to go ahead and get a professional to inspect this whole house for you and see if there's anything wrong. If we do find something wrong, guys, what we'll do is submit an addendum to the seller and we'll request them to fix these items. Now, the seller does not have to fix anything. You guys can negotiate back and forth, and the seller can say, hey, I will fix this, but I won't fix that. And that's during your negotiation period, right? But once you guys get to an agreed upon deal, the sellers say they're going to repair this and that. Then next thing you know, we're moving on to the next process, right? And the next process in the transaction is multiple things going, guys. I'm going to be telling you, go ahead and contact an insurance company, right? Because the insurance company needs to get the lender a quote, right? And let me back up a little bit because when you're doing your home inspections, you're going to see me tell you you're going to have 3 mandatory inspections here in Florida that you must get done. 2 of those inspections are required by the insurance company. Some windstorms and some hurricanes. So they're making sure that your truss and your roof and everything is solid and won't get lifted away if we get some strong windstorms here, right? So moving right along from there, you go ahead and everything is good there. We are past that inspection phase. You're contacting the insurance companies, and then your lender, Carly, is going to go ahead and move forward with ordering the appraisal for you guys, right? And with that being said, once we receive the appraisal back, as long as the appraisal is at value or above value, baby, nothing changes. We just continue rolling on through the deal. We almost at closing, if you ask me. Once we get to the appraisal, we're pretty much at closing now. You can breathe a little bit, right? And so, with that being said, the appraisal is good. We move along through the process and your file gets turned over to the underwriter. The underwriter is then going to scrub your file, make sure if there's anything else they need from you, they're going to request it then, right? And then they may go back and forth with some other information that they're requesting from you because trust me, they're checking your credit, they're checking your life. All right. And just get it to them as quickly as possible. Trust me, guys, I have closed deals in 15 days before. I've closed deals in 21 days before. It is possible. It's as quickly as you can get documents to your lender, right? And then once we get through the underwriter, Carly will let us all know we are clear to close. We're going to jump hooray. We're going to contact the title company. The title company is going to set that time for you to come and get set up the time for your closing. You can either close at the title company, or if you're out of state, because I do work with a lot of people from out of state, don't you worry at all. We will get you a mobile notary wherever you are in the country, and get a mobile notary to you to go ahead and sign your closing documents, baby. All right. So that is the home buying process, taking you through with this particular house from the beginning to the end. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let Carly talk now on the lending side of this. Carly, I'll unshare my screen so you can have the ability to show yours with your numbers, right? But as you can see, we love this thing. We love it.
I got my little ones in the background. You probably hear them. They're wild. Okay.
7 o'clock, girl.
Okay, so this is what we call a mortgage coach. So basically, I use this as a digital presentation. So you get one of these from me once you are pre-qualified. So once we've kind of given you the green light to go shopping. So
Okay.
I'm going to show you how this works. So this is for Sally. So each column is a different loan option. So I've used the same address that we were looking at before, the 2283 Shady Breeze Lane. And I put that same purchase price here for all of them. So you can see that the loan amounts are different, all of these, because they require different down payments. As you can see, if you've got the VA there, you see how it's the same? That means no down payment on that one. A FHA loan has a 3.5% down payment.
Okay.
And a conventional loan has a 3% payment if you're a first time home buyer, which I assume is probably most of the people on the call. If you are not a
Right.
first time home buyer, it's 5%. Now, just for consistency's sake, I've just put the same interest rate across all of these so we can kind of compare apples to apples.
Okay.
Honestly, probably your lowest interest rate is going to be on the VA loan typically,
Okay.
assuming decent credit. And your interest rate as well will also depend on if you do down payment assistance, then the state of Florida sets that rate. So we don't have any control over it. You can't, I mean, you might have heard of the process of buying down an interest rate. You can't do that with any sort of down payment assistance programs.
Okay.
Mhm. So those are just set. They are what they are. This is a term of 360 months. That's 30 years. That's what almost everybody does for a loan. You technically can go less if you, and you do usually get, if you're not doing down payment assistance, a better rate when you shrink the term. Now your monthly payment's going to go up, of course.
Mhm.
Most people want to keep that as low as possible. So that's why we're typically in a 30-year loan. So
Okay.
next piece is the payment here. So I have this highlighted, and this graph here shows you the difference between the different monthly payments. So you can see again, even though you put no down payment down on a VA loan, you're still getting the
Mhm.
cheapest payment here, and I'll
Yeah.
jump into why. But this is your payment, and this is your cash to close. So this is the total number at this price point with not only your down payment, but also all of your closing costs that you would bring to the table if you were just not using down payment assistance and this was coming straight from either you or a
Mhm.
gift or something we love called seller credit. All of that is awesome, and I'll kind of show you where that comes into play. But you can see again, because you don't have any down payment, that's why the VA option is again the better, the
Mhm.
cheapest of all the options. That's why we love a VA loan. If
Yeah.
you've earned the right to use a VA loan, I almost always go this route unless there's something that prevents us specifically.
Right.
So I'm gonna then click here on the more info because this is gonna break down how we actually got to these two numbers for each of these loan types. So if we go here, this is what we're looking at. So this is how we get to your monthly payment. So again, same purchase price here. P&I stands for principal and interest. When
Mhm.
we talk about a fixed rate loan, this is what we're talking about because the entire 30 years of this loan, this will not change unless you sell the home, refinance it, whatever happens. This number does not change.
Mhm.
You will be very sad to know that there's something called amortization that goes on with your monthly payment. So even though this number is always going to be this in the very beginning, to make up this number, it's almost entirely interest. And then by the end of your 30 years, it's almost entirely principal. So they basically slowly
Switch it.
offset each other.
Yeah.
These banks are going to get their money in the first few years of this loan because they know you're probably not going to be in the home very long. That's why that exists. Let's just call it like it is, right? They're going to get their
Right.
money immediately. And that's why in the beginning, you might only be paying $300 of interest of principal in this and
Mhm.
$2,200 worth of interest. So that's
Mhm.
why if you were to set aside and say, make one extra payment a year, make an extra $100 a month, something like that. That's why you significantly pay down your loan quicker if you go that route, which we love. This is the property tax on this home. Um, you can see it's the same for each property. Now, Tanisha, I don't think this property had a homestead on it, which
Mhm.
is another lovely, wonderful, amazing thing that we love about the state of Florida.
Right.
Is
Right.
if this is your primary residence that you're buying in the state of Florida, you get something called a homestead exemption, which is $50,000 off the taxable value of the home, and it prevents your tax bill every year from growing by more than 3% a year. So if we do have a situation where, say, um, COVID, we all saw how much home prices increased. They doubled by 50 to 100% in a lot of areas over 2 or 3 years. Yours can only increase by 3% every year.
Yeah.
And the beauty of that is then your home is up here in value, but your tax bill is down here. Now you might
Exactly.
say, okay, so then I don't ever want to leave that house because then this difference in taxable value is just gone if I buy a new home. No, it's not. Florida has something else called portability within this whole homestead thing, where this difference that you have, as long as you move to another primary residence in Florida, you take these tax savings to your next home. It's
That's
called
good.
portability, and it applies as long as you stay in the state of Florida. You have 3 years to do so once you go to your new house. So all kinds of good stuff in that. So that's where this number comes from. This could go down because I don't think there's a homestead exemption on it now. I put $150 worth of insurance on here. This is, we call it hazard insurance on here. It's homeowners insurance. It's what you're used
Yeah.
to. I think because it's a newer home that this is reasonable.
Mhm.
Kanisha, what do you
Right.
think?
No, definitely.
Yeah, perfect. And then another piece that you're going to notice is different for each loan type. So
Mhm.
and the reason why a VA loan is cheaper than the other loans is because they do not have mortgage insurance. You don't have to pay any fee on this. The one fee that you would pay on a VA loan that doesn't exist on the others is something called a funding fee. That
Mhm.
happens if you're a disabled veteran, doesn't apply to you. If you are, it's a percentage of your loan amount, and that just gets tacked on to the top of your loan. So you don't pay that at closing or anything like that, but it is a fee that applies. Now, conventional loans, you have this mortgage insurance piece, and this applies until you've paid off 20% of the value of the home.
Mhm.
And that can happen obviously by paying your loan down if you've paid 20% down, but it also applies if your home just goes up in value. Again, COVID, when your home went up in value 50% or more in a year or two, a lot of people got rid of this piece of their monthly payment just almost
Yeah.
automatically because their home just increased in value, even though they might have only paid 6 months of their mortgage. you know, if their home
Right.
went up in value a ton, then this piece goes away. And this is the only unfortunate piece on an FHA loan. This never goes away. This is permanent unless
Mm.
you refinance and go into a different loan type.
Okay.
So that's how we get here. And then the last piece is your HOA, which I saw was like $8 a month. So that's negligible, but we count that in. And then if
Yeah.
you had a property that had, say, flood insurance, it doesn't happen very often, honestly. We rarely see flood insurance. But if you did, that would also be down here and that would go into this total payment. Next piece, we're going to go into closing costs. So I want
Mhm.
to differentiate closing costs and down payment because sometimes people
Exactly.
put them together. So let's
Mhm.
separate them. So
Mhm.
your closing costs, when I say closing costs as a total cash to close, that includes everything: closing costs, down payment, all that good stuff. That is the number that you physically have to bring to closing on the day of. It's typically, you can typically only wire. You can't do like a cashier's check. You certainly can't do
Right.
cash unless you're an all cash offer. Nothing like that. It's going to have to be a wire from your bank to the title company.
Mhm.
And this is the total number. Now, this does not take into account any sort of assistance that you could get. So, for example, in the state of Florida, we have multiple programs with Florida Housing. Usually the minimum is $10,000. So, if you owed $10,000 here, now you only owe 16, right? That's due at
Mm.
closing. And what
Yeah.
Kanisha can do as well is if the seller is agreeable to it, you can
Mhm.
also ask for something called seller credit, which is super, super common. Um,
Right.
we love seller credit because unlike down payment assistance that almost always has to be repaid, seller credit does not.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
on a VA loan, for example, there are parameters that tell you how much you can get, but on a VA loan, it's typically 4% of the sales price towards your closing costs. Now, seller credit can only impact closing costs. It cannot touch your down payment. So if you end up getting more seller credit than you have closing costs, then either we can't use it or we have to use it to buy down the rate or something
Mhm.
else has to apply. Okay.
Exactly.
But down payment assistance can do it all. It can do closing costs, it can do down payment, it can do everything. Um,
Mhm.
so you can even do all three of those things. So you can get seller credit, you can get down payment
Mhm.
assistance, you can get a gift from family. It's very common
Yep.
if you have a parent or your grandmother or something like that that is willing to gift you however much money for closing. That can also take this number down. So you have a lot of different paths between getting there, and a lot of 401ks as well. I know we don't want to touch our
Mhm.
401ks, but our 401ks, a lot of them make exceptions for the process of buying a home, and you won't get tax penalties the way you would from just withdrawing a loan.
Mhm.
And you also can usually take a personal loan from your tax from your 401k as well. on the stipulation that you set a repayment plan. And we don't view that as any sort of additional debt that we have to take into consideration because it's your money that you're paying back.
Okay.
So we got a lot of ways, obviously from your own savings account, but a gift from family, down payment assistance, seller credit, 401k. Like we have a ton of places that people can get money from. So if that is your big sticking point, we might have avenues for you to move forward. You're probably not going to get out of the process with $0 because you will have to pay for inspections and you might have to pay for the appraisal. If it comes to it, I may even be able to get that paid for you with your loan.
Exactly.
So if that is your sticking point, we may very well have very good ways around that. And you can come to the table with little to no money outside of inspections.
Exactly.
And technically, we don't require inspections as a lender, but I will always advocate for inspections because that allows us to ensure that you're buying a good property. I always give this example. I had a friend that is a fellow loan officer out in Arkansas. She was buying a house. The house looked beautiful. Everything looked great. They did inspections and found $20,000 worth of foundation work that needed to be done. Had they not done the, what is it, $400, $500, $600 inspection, they would have had a $20,000 foundation bill that they would have had to take care of.
Exactly, Carly.
And when you do that and you get that inspection and you don't wait till the end to save that money, once that loan's closed, whatever issues you find when you're in that house, they are on you. If you find them before you close, Kenesha might be able to negotiate those repairs for you, which I know we talked about, but yeah. So that's the big thing here. So that's what we're looking for. Obviously these numbers will vary somewhat depending. And if you want to put more down, you can put more down. Even as a VA loan, if you want to put a down payment down, you absolutely can. It could help your interest rate and all that good stuff when you put a down payment down in some of these no down payment loans. But that's basically what you're looking at in general with costs and comparing a conventional and FHA to a VA.
Nice, Carly. I greatly appreciate that. That's exactly what I wanted to do, Carly, and break it down like that and let someone see that this monthly payment, if I'm still on that screen, it was like 3,200. You said, right?
Yeah. Let's go monthly payment again. Here you go.
Okay. Yep. Right around 3,200 is going to be your monthly payment for a $440,000 home. And this home here, guys, is 5 bedrooms, right? It's 5 bedrooms and it's 3 full baths, and it's 2,492. So call it about 2,500 square feet is the size of this property. And like I said, it's in Green Cove. You have the new Highway 23 that comes from 10, and you can jump on the 23, and you're right down there in the Middleburg, Green Cove area. And it's still going past that area now. They've built that out going towards the St. John's area. So the commute is way better for you. So in the Green Cove area, guys, they're building and they're building and they're building. So right now, I would tell anybody, this is the time to get down in the Green Cove area if you can, because as all the new construction gets done in a couple years, these houses is going to be worth a whole lot more because they're not stopping anytime soon. They're building on the west side, they're building on the north side, they're building, we call it south. I will call it south, and that's Middleburg. They want to call they call the south side the west. Normally I would call the east side west. I mean, the east side, what they call south side, I would call that the east side. They call that south side. But nevertheless, they're building all over. But this is the time I'll tell anybody to purchase. Interest rates are twinkling just a little bit down and whatever, but the house prices is what you want to come after right now. So although interest rates may be a little teetering, which I like to tell people, before COVID, y'all, this was the interest rates, right? This were the interest rates. And so with that being said, this is pretty much kind of normal. But the house prices right now are kind of low, and I see them just ticking up. They're upticking and upticking. So if anyone is on the fence, we brought you guys one property. Now we're going to bring you more properties as we come on these lives and go over the home buying process with you to show you that it's not as hard as you think it is, and it does not take a bank full of money to get this done. Carly, thank you so much for going over this down payment and closing cost assistance, because I really think people think that they need to be rich in order to purchase a home.
Yeah.
I like to tell people, Carly, hey, if you can go rent a home, you can purchase a home because 10 out of 10 times you got to put a deposit down.
Hmm.
It's the same thing you're doing when you
Yeah.
purchase a new home, right?
Yeah. It's like 2 months. It's a security deposit and then 2 months,
Mhm.
and you got to get your credit pulled then too, apparently, these
Exactly.
days.
It's the
So,
same exact thing.
yeah.
The only difference is when you're purchasing now is going to be your home and you're going to
Hmm.
be building equity in that property. So
Hmm.
down the line, let's say you do decide to sell, right? Unlike when you're renting, when you do decide to sell, all that money you have paid towards mortgage and stuff like that, that has put down your principal. So therefore, you should have some equity in that property when you get ready to sell it a few years down the line, right? Unlike when you're renting and you turn those keys over, they may say, first we got to go check your carpet and the walls and make sure everything is still good. And then they may come up with the lie of, well, all this wear and tear, we cannot give you the deposit back. So all that money you put towards now it needs to go towards someone else's house, not your house, right? So that would be my only take to someone is to stop paying somebody else's mortgage and pay your own. It would be my advice to someone on
Yeah.
that note, Kelly.
And do you want me to go over some of the requirements for down payment assistance? Because that's something
Oh
people might be
yes.
curious about how you get
Oh
there.
yes, definitely.
Yeah. So in the state of Florida, you typically we have to be cognizant of three things. Typically, you have to be a first time home buyer. Your credit has to be a 640 or better. And if it's not now, we can do a soft pull and we can make you a credit plan to get there. And
Hmm.
then there are income caps. So they're not going to give down payment assistance to somebody that makes $300,000 a year. Not that they need it, but they're not going to give it to them even if they wanted it. So, for example, a lot of the programs are somewhere around, if you're just by yourself, they're somewhere around the $100 to $120,000 in income a year. That is your cap, and that goes up if you're three people or more in a family. So, added, it's usually another $30,000 to $40,000 on top of
Hmm.
whatever the income limit, and that varies county to county. So they give you more leeway in Miami than they give you in Middleburg.
Really?
Well, because they know
Whoa.
that home prices are elevated there. They know that salaries are elevated there, so they do vary county to county to give you a little more leeway if you do live in like a high cost area. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, and depending on the program, that may only be the people in the house. Some of the programs, especially the kind of ones that I prefer, will take your entire household income whether they're in the loan or not. So it just we look at that. But the three big things: you got to be first time home buyer, 640 credit score, and under a certain income limit. So, and
Okay.
if we can check all three of those boxes, then it is basically usually $10,000, if not more. That sits as a silent second mortgage. You don't have any payment on it monthly. You won't
Hmm.
even remember that you have it until you go to sell the home. And let's say you stood to make $100,000 on the sale of your home. Maybe you sell it 10 years from now. Now you're going to make 90 as opposed to 100. Basically, they'll take
Mm.
that. And if you
Exactly.
do, the other big one that I tell people about too is the refinance, because I know we're all hoping for a market that will allow refinances here in the future if you already own a home.
Hmm.
If you refinance as well, you would have to wrap that second loan into your new loan, because or pay it outright if you could. So that's really, in my mind, the only downside of a down payment assistance program is it's usually not free money. I think
Hmm.
of it as a pay it forward type of thing. You get it to get you in the house. And then when you're
Right.
settled and either going to your next house or doing well enough to go ahead and refinance or whatever you want to do, now that money comes due so the next person can get in. So on and so forth, that it
Yeah.
replenishes itself every year. And if
That's
you're in
good.
Florida and you are one of our lovely people who are what we call a hometown hero, we love these because these have the lowest interest rates of all the Florida housing products. You do have to be a certain job occupation though, and you do have to be currently full time. So the only negative of this is if you are a disabled veteran that only works off your disability, you would have to
Hmm.
have a full time job, and I hate it for that. But everything else,
Mm.
you have to be a full-time employee by whatever your employer says is full-time. Some people that's 40 hours, some people that's 35 hours, some people that's 30, whatever the case is for your employer, as long as you're deemed full-time. And you are at a brick and mortar location in Florida. You can't work for Amazon out of California and Florida and consider your employer to be in Florida. It's based, they're trying to keep everything in-house. So the jobs are things that you probably would have guessed. Teachers, daycare workers, doctors, nurses, police officers, military, obviously. Am I missing any big categories? And it includes hospital staff and stuff too, because I know that can be a big chunk of the population. So you don't have to be just a doctor to qualify. You could be the receptionist in the doctor's office, things like that. Those also qualify. ABA therapists, all of these sorts of things qualify. So if you think that you meet all those requirements, we'll put our contact info up and we can verify that you would qualify. But even if you don't qualify for Hometown Heroes, you may still qualify for the other Florida housing options.
Okay. That's awesome. And I don't know if you're able to see the video that's swinging through here, Carly. It is a beautiful home. Like I said, it's 5 bedrooms. And I don't think people will really understand that you can purchase this home with little to no money down on this home. As we're saying, there are down payment assistance programs available, guys. For this home, you would pretty much come in putting down your binder. Your binder can be about $1,000. You'll have your home inspections. Like I say, you have required home inspections on any resale home. The insurance company requires the 4-point and the wind mitigation, and then the lender requires the WDO PES or the VA. I should say the VA requires the WDO PES inspection, and that's only required for the VA home loan. Right. Okay, so the other loans do not require the WDO, just the VA home loan, right? And Carly, one person had a question. They said, when you're pre-qualified, does the amount depend on how much you make?
Yeah. So what we look at, I'll try to give you a very simple formula. So we look at something called debt to income. Okay. So debt to income is basically the proposed cost of the new mortgage, whatever that is. So when we were looking at these things, $3,200 plus anything that comes in from your credit report. So that's not your light bill. That's not car insurance. That's nothing like that. That is going to be student loans, credit card payments, anything that reports to credit is what we look at. So add all of those monthly debts from that. So let's say you have a $300 car payment, you have $200 credit card payment, and you have $500 in student loans, just to make the number round, $1,000. We would add $1,000 to whatever the cost of this mortgage is. So if it was $3,200, $4,200. And in most of these instances, let's just make a very general number, 50% or less of that would have to be your income. So if your total cost of all your monthly payments plus your new mortgage is, let's say, $5,000, typically you're going to have to make $10,000 to qualify for that. Okay. So all of the debts divided by your income, and we get to use your total income. Okay. We get to use your income before taxes, insurance, all of that stuff is taken out. Okay. Your total income. The only thing that may or may not qualify is if you're in a job that has a lot of overtime, commission, things like that, you typically have to be in that job 2 years for us to be able to use that. And we use an average of that variable piece of your income over 2 years. Because an underwriter is going to say, okay, maybe your base pay is $5,000 a month. So we know that that's good. That we can count. But if you also take another $5,000 a month in some combination of overtime, commission, bonus, something that varies. That's what they don't like. They don't like anything that varies. So whenever
that makes sense.
Because maybe you get 10 hours of overtime this week, but then you don't get it for another month.
That's true.
Because of that, because it's variable in nature, they want to see typically a 2-year average of that, and then they average what you got over 2 years. So if at the end of the year you got $10,000 total last year and you got $20,000 total this year, they're going to add those two together, divide by 24 months, and that's how much we can actually use. That might be confusing, but we'll do the math for you. But just as a general idea, debts from your credit report plus the mortgage, divide that by your monthly payment before you take anything out.
So a quick question then, Carly, for this home that we just did, right? And we're around 3,200. So our debt to income, if it's about 50%, we're looking at someone needing to make about 6,400.
Yes. If you have no debt, if you have no debt whatsoever, To
Yeah.
qualify for this, now on VA, we have a lot more wiggle room.
Okay.
So sometimes that can go way over 50,
Okay.
depending on your credit. Everything depends on your credit. So,
I bet.
if you have a decent credit score on a VA loan, you very well might be able to go up to like 60. I had somebody today that I got approval on that you and I are working with, looking for a quadplex, that I got
Yeah.
up to almost 70. So it
Oh
just they have
wow. I need a quadplex.
uh-huh. They have amazing credit, and so
Yeah.
that's considered a what we call a compensating factor. They have such good credit
Yeah.
that the VA will give them a little more wiggle room than the normal person would.
That's
Um,
great.
on a conventional loan, it's always 50 or less. And if you're not doing down payment assistance on an FHA loan, it's 57 or less. So you can go a little bit
Oh,
higher on that. If we do down payment assistance, though, they're almost always 50 or less. So
oh.
I just do that as a very general number. Just take half.
Okay.
Whatever your total monthly is, double it so that your income covers that.
That makes sense. That makes
Mhm.
sense. And then you deduct your other costs that you have, and then you'll know that okay, I do need to make a little bit more. That makes
Yeah.
sense. So, as a
It,
rule of thumb, guys, any house that you're looking to purchase, let's say we're telling you, hey, the monthly amount is going to be about 2,500, because like I said, it's going to be other houses that we put on here. Then you can say, I make about 7,500 a month. Yeah, I qualify for that one, right? That could
mhm.
be a little easy way.
Yeah. Now remember, assuming no debt. So,
Yeah.
and a big one that people don't think about is your student loans. So you may
Mm.
not be paying on your student loans right now, but if you have student loans and they're in deferment, then we almost always have to count something like a 0.5% payment against you. So that you don't, even though you may not be paying, we know this is a 30-year loan. Unless the loans are just forgiven, we know they're going to come back into effect at some point. We know, as much as we would love the government to forgive them, in most of our cases, probably not going to happen. So think about a monthly payment for your student loans as like a 0.5% or whatever it is. So if you have $100,000 in student loans, let's just see. If you have a, let's times point, I don't know why this is 0.5%. That's like a $500 payment that we have to count against you. So it's like the same thing as having like a car payment. So
Mm.
just something to keep in mind. Obviously we there's more nuance to it than that, but in very general. And if you go to my website, carlymcleod.com, there is a mortgage calculator for this, so you can kind of play with this on your own. If you don't feel ready to actually step in the ring yet, you can play. Just scroll down to the bottom of the page, go below the application, all that good stuff, and it'll let you calculate that for yourself as well.
Nice. And Carly, we have another question here. I've answered it, but I want you to answer it also. For a first-time home buyer, what loan will be better if I cannot do the VA loan? And I put FHA, but I'll let you let them
It's a
know.
hard question, and it's why I do one of these,
Okay.
because I would compare it for you and we would talk about it. Um, it's just going to depend, right? Because some, if we're not doing down payment assistance, which has, the rate varies between what we call a government loan, which is VA, FHA, USDA. If you're not
Uh-huh.
doing one of those, a conventional interest rate is different. So we would be comparing your interest rate. Typically, if you have good credit, um, a lot, it depends. Typically, if you have good credit, you're probably going to be more likely to go conventional.
Okay.
If you have lower credit, let's say sub 700 or something, not that that's bad credit, but just knowing the interest rates without down payment
Mhm.
assistance, your interest rate is probably better in all things with FHA.
Ah.
So, and
Mm.
especially if you're, now this might not be anybody on these calls because again, this is first time home buyer, but conventional is the only one that you can buy a second home or an investment property with. So
Mhm.
if you are in the market for that at all, let's say you already own a home and you just want to, or you were inherited a home or whatever the case is, and you want to buy a second home, um, you're going to have to be in a conventional loan for that. And honestly, I do put a lot of people in an FHA loan because their rates are really competitive.
Yeah.
And remember that debt to income piece we talked about earlier? If your
That part.
numbers are tight, FHA can go up to 57 as opposed to 50. So
Right.
especially if there's a
Right.
home that you love and we're just over DTI on conventional, then we might throw
Hmm.
in an FHA. Um,
Right.
Nothing here is permanent though. If rates come down, and you were in an FHA and you want to be in a conventional, because remember that mortgage insurance piece that goes away on a conventional loan, maybe you
Hmm.
refinance in 5 years into a conventional loan and get rid of that. Maybe you get a lower interest rate and get rid of your mortgage insurance and you're saving
Yeah.
$400 a month or something.
Exactly.
So this is not permanent, but what I will create you a mortgage coach like this so that you can compare and contrast and see where the different fees are for each. And then I'll give you the power to go. Another thing that you might want to take into consideration as well, even if I qualify you for one or the other, right? You go
Right.
shopping and there's a home that has some inspection related issues. Some issues came up on inspection. Let's say something
Mm.
like this came up recently with me, wood rot. The home has some wood rot. A conventional loan might be a better option for you then, because
Yeah.
the appraisal is much more lenient on a lot of these inspection related things
Yeah.
than an FHA. An FHA, they might flag it and say, hey, this has to be
Okay.
fixed before closing. And if the seller's not willing to fix it and you're not willing to fix it,
Yeah.
then maybe it doesn't work. Uh,
Exactly.
so there's a lot of factors that go into it, and we'll compare and contrast and see what fits, and then ultimately what fits best for the home, because that may change as well.
Right.
And you can change, even if I qualify you for an FHA. If we've got to go conventional, that may be an option. We just have to talk about it.
Right. And then um, two questions I had. One, before I ask this question that this person is asking, is for contractors, like, independent contractors, those who are business owners, what documents they need to present when they're purchasing.
Yeah, yeah. So when you're somebody that, let's say you're self-employed, maybe you own your own business type of thing, independent 1099, all of this kind of stuff. Typically that falls into that 2 year bucket where we have to see your income for 2 years. On most of these
Mhm.
things, I'm going to need to see tax returns, and what
Okay.
you've declared on your tax returns is what I can use as your income. Now, here's a warning: if this is you, if you're self-employed, especially, and we're going to have to look at your tax returns. You need to keep that in mind when you go to file your taxes in the coming years. Because if you're telling the IRS that you make no money so that you can have a nice low tax bill, I totally get that. We all want to pay the least amount of money that we can in taxes as possible. But if you tell the IRS that you don't make any money, then I look at your mortgage application and I see that you don't make any money. You may make a lot of money, but if you don't declare it, that's what we have to use. So you may be in a bit of a catch 22 situation where you go, okay, I need some tax planning kind of going into this, because I need to declare more income if I'm going to want to qualify for the house that I want. So sometimes that sometimes that can trip you up, honestly. So 1099s will need the 1099, and we'll need at least 2 years of that. Self-employed, we're going to need your taxes. Oh, Kanisha, did I lose you? Hmm. Or did you lose me? Hmm. Let's see. Hmm. I wonder what happened.
us. It's really
Oh,
the
there you
government
are.
that makes the rates go up and down. It has nothing to do with us. Can you hear me, Carly?
Now I can hear you. I lost you there for a minute.
I can't hear you. So hold on. We're trying to boot it back up. For some reason, my thing went still, and then it just went
Yeah.
away. Yeah, but it was a question. I'll tell you. What exactly makes the rates go up and down? So as soon as we can get you
Yeah.
back. Oh, there you go. I can hear you now.
Yeah. That's
I
a great
yeah.
question. The rate goes up and down with the market. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and what the market anticipates is going to happen. Unfortunately, in general, when the market gets worse, so think of the Fed like gas and brakes on a vehicle. If the
Okay.
economy's doing really, really well and we're
Mm-hmm.
trucking along, everybody's buying, things look great, the Fed has no reason to put lower interest rates on because everything's going great. People are buying, people are
Yeah.
selling, everything's happy go lucky. Unfortunately for all of us, when the economy's doing really bad, that's good for us. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
But because that's signaling to the Fed, if nobody is able to borrow money, they see that people aren't borrowing money, people can't afford to borrow money, then they put the brakes on interest rates and say, hey, we got to lower these so that more people have access to borrow money.
Yeah.
Um, so just think of it like a car like that, like gas and brakes. Now, what I will tell you is we never know. People predict and they do the best that they can. We're currently projecting two more cuts to the Fed funds rate this year. We're projecting
Okay.
one. One would be at the end of October. There's currently like a 90% chance that that'll happen. That is a 25 basis cut that they're expecting, which is like a quarter point.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, well, it could be. We'll see how it actually.
Could be.
And then and the, and then and then in December they're expecting one more. Um, but in general, the way that the rates go depends on how the markets are. If they see that um, a bunch of people have jobs, unemployment's low, inflation's good, like all of these things are unfortunately bad things that we don't want to hear. We
Mhm.
want, because think about when the market was the lowest that we've ever seen. What was that during?
Exactly.
COVID. The
The
world
C
was in the
word.
trash can, right? Now that was artificially low. That was something called quantitative easing that they kept the rates sort of artificially low. But um, we are hopeful that we're trending down in rates. And if you ever want to see, Kanisha, I'll share.
Mhm.
Uh, Let me share and I'll show you kind of what this looks like.
Sure.
I'm going to share my screen just so you can kind of go to this place. This is basically what I look at, and you can kind of get an
Okay.
idea of where. Here, I'll kind of show you what we look at so you get an idea. Now, is that working?
Mhm.
Yeah, here you
Mhm.
go. And please ignore the 10,000 tabs that I have open at all times. But this is what we kind of look at, and you can kind of see how rates have varied. This is 6 months, right? Um, and if we could do 5 years, you can see like when was this? 2021. This is when rates were really low, and you can
Right.
see kind of how we've tumbled since then. So basically, when this goes up, and you kind of see like look in this last, let's say 6 months, you see how we're kind of trending back up in the right direction. Little falls here and
Mhm.
there. Um, but you can go look at this page, and this is not a subscription that I have. Anybody can look at this, and you can kind of get an idea of the general. It won't tell you an interest rate. It won't say you have a 6.0 or whatever, but it tells you how the market is moving. So in this, up means good. We want it to go up,
Mm. Okay.
which is counterintuitive because you want rates to go down, but you want this particular graph to go up. So
Oh.
you can follow this. um, but yeah, so that's it. We're
Mhm.
hopeful we're trending in the right direction, but it's the economy, and it doesn't even have to be the realities of the economy. It can be what the stockbrokers and all that think are going to happen. So,
Yeah.
for example, I'll give you a real time example: the shutdown with a looming government
Mm.
shutdown. I don't even know where we are. I don't know if that's been settled or what's happened, but
Yeah.
that's a negative impact to the economy. So rates got a little bit better today, for example.
That makes sense. That makes
Mhm.
sense. Hmm.
So, yeah. But if you have any questions on that, reach out. The Fed funds rate is not a direct impact on your interest rate, but they tend to follow each other. They tend to go in the same direction. So,
Okay.
yeah, hope that makes sense. And what interest rate you ultimately get is also a combination of a lot of factors. It can be a combination of a big one is your credit score. Typically, with a better credit score, you get a better interest rate. It's also how much money you're putting down. It's also whether you're buying a primary property, a secondary property, an investment property. It's also, in some cases, your debt to income. If you have a really low debt to income, it can be helpful. If you're buying a manufactured home as opposed to a single family home, like a mobile home, you get a little bit worse interest rate on a mobile home. It's like there's like 40 some factors that affect it, so it's hard to quote anybody an interest rate. But when you go through the pre-qualification part, that's when I can quote you what your interest rate would be that day.
Hmm.
Now, that may change the next day, and it often
Right.
does. But just so you have an idea of factors that influence it.
Oh my goodness. Awesome. Good stuff, Carly. Good stuff. And I love that you brought this out to show us how these rates
Mhm.
has been fluctuating and playing with us.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't I don't remember what happened on this. That's actually my daughter's birthday. I don't remember.
Man.
That was Memorial Day. So I don't know if the
Oh,
yeah. So that just means the day there was a lot of change in one day. If this candlestick is really big like that, that means there's a lot of change. But you can see
wow.
the overall trend of it. And if you do, like a 5-year trend like that, you can see how it's fluctuated.
Of course. Oh goodness.
Hmm.
Let's see. I think I have another message. Did I? It said I did, but I don't see one. Okay. I think that was it. I think that was it with questions for now, Carly. I think
Okay.
that was it.
Do we want to put some contact info up or something like that?
Sure, sure,
Uh,
sure. Let me
put that
see.
last info, that last page of the
Page.
of that. Here, maybe I can pull up the
Got you.
slideshow really quick and
Oh, I got it right here, hon.
here. Okay, then I'll stop sharing so you can. There you go.
Okay. Let me get it over to the last screen.
There
Oop,
it goes.
go back. Let me go back. I think I was clicking too fast here. Okay. There we go, guys.
Mhm.
There we go. Is my little boxy thing in the way right here? Okay, let me move that. There we go. This is Carly's information here. And then there I go,
And
my
there's
information.
no cost to reach out and see where you are now. If you don't have any idea whether you're ready, what you would qualify for, there is no cost to you to reach out to do an application. It's totally free to do a soft credit pull, won't ding your credit, and we can figure out where you are now. Even if you're not ready now,
Mm-hmm.
we can put you on a path to having you. That's my biggest thing. I don't tell
Yep.
people no. If the
Yep.
answer is that I can't qualify you now, we will put you on a plan that has you qualified in the future. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So everybody is qualifiable as long as you do the steps to get there, basically.
Exactly. You said that right, Carly. Everybody is qualified with the amount of work that you put in a sense. Is like it's possible. I've had people who work 2 years on their credit and boom,
Hmm.
after they finish what they needed to do, they got into a house. And it wasn't just a any kind of house. I've gotten somebody in a 350, I've gotten people in $400,000 homes. So it's not that you can't afford it. Sometimes it's just that your credit is just needs some work. And
Yeah.
what I love about Carly is she's able to do a soft pull and not detriment or damage your credit even further. So that soft pull, she's able to go in and see, hey, what is this kind of looking like, and give you some information on what you can do to fix it. Carly, one thing before we go off, a lot of people like to try and fix their credit on their own.
Yeah.
I like to tell people, just wait 1 second, because you may pay something off that ends up hurting your credit
Yes.
more so than helping them. Can you touch on that right
Yeah.
before we roll out of here?
100% because credit is stupid.
Yeah.
Things that you think will help your credit, like,
Yeah.
and a lot of people have these barriers in their mind. They say, okay, I got to get all my credit cards to 30%, right? I
Mhm.
have to do that. And I'm not
Mhm.
going to even talk to you guys until I do that. Well, the truth of the matter is That's not
Mhm.
always necessary. And I am not good at predicting what my simulators will tell me. But the fact of the matter is, you don't always have to get your credit cards down to 30%. You don't always have to pay a ton down. Sometimes just getting it down to like 70% or something does wonders, or just getting that one card down under a certain threshold. I think it's unwise to go about credit blindly, because the
Mhm.
truth of the matter is, you do something and then you wait 30 days to see what it does. Okay, did it help or it
Yeah.
hurt? Okay, now we're 30 days down the line and maybe it helped, maybe it didn't. If we do a soft pull, I can do a plan. I we have these things called credit simulators where I can say, okay, if we paid off this card and this card, maybe open a new card type of thing, remove you as an
Mhm.
authorized user on somebody else's card that maybe has a really high balance or something like that. Maybe we need to pay off this one collection. We don't, and a lot of times they'll negotiate with you and you won't have to pay the full amount. Maybe
Mhm.
that's all you need to do to move forward. But you're
Yeah.
sitting there saying, I've got to pay $10,000 on all these cars to get them down. And I'm saying, hey, maybe it only takes three, you know?
Exactly. And I've seen
So,
that so many times, Carly, so many
mhm,
times. And they be
yeah.
like,
So,
"Well, I thought I had to pay all this." No, you do not have to pay all
not
this money.
necessarily. You may. I don't want to, I don't want to lie to you.
Yeah.
I've seen people that have a lot of credit repair and they do have to put a lot of money towards it. But at
Mhm.
least if we do that, then we'll know, and you
Right.
won't be spending your money blindly. And especially if we can hold on to that money, and maybe now that can go to payment. Maybe now that can go
Mhm.
towards your future furniture or something in your, you know what I
Exactly,
mean? Like,
Carly.
going I would never recommend going into it blindly. It doesn't cost you anything. It's the thing
Mhm.
that I'm telling you. If we have to do major credit repair, we can always send you out to a partner that I work with called Uqual that does, like, I think their plans are like $100 a month to be on constant monitoring and stuff like that. But most people don't need that. Most people are at like a 570 and I need to get them over to 600, something like that.
Right. Right.
Um, and that's usually not as involved as people tend to think. So don't go blindly. Let's put together an actual plan.
Mhm, mhm, and I like that because that's what it is, Carly. Let's not do it blindly, y'all, and
Don't
because
spend
a
your
lot of
money.
you yeah, a lot of you are scared to purchase a home, and let me tell you, it's because you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's it. The fear of not knowing is what is crippling a lot of people from purchasing. But if you get with us, we run the numbers for you like we say we're gonna do, and you know this ahead of time, then what are you scared of?
Yeah.
What are
And
you
it's
scared of?
free. It's free. I don't know if people think putting in a mortgage application costs something. It doesn't.
Yeah.
And whatever you put in your mortgage application is also not set in stone. Like,
Okay.
if we get into the process and you change jobs, we want to talk about it. I need to know if you're going to change jobs,
Right.
because that can impact what you do and don't qualify for. But
Mhm.
it's entirely possible. If you're going from a salaried job to a salaried job, there's typically no issue with that. And you're going
Yeah.
to make more money while we're in the process. Great. If you go in thinking you want a VA loan and for whatever reason we can't, great. We switch.
Which
Nothing is hard and fast in this. You can change it while you're under contract. I
yeah.
mean, I don't necessarily recommend that, but I've seen it
Right.
happen. It works. It sometimes we have to.
Yeah.
Um, so there's really no harm in starting the process and seeing where you land. And even if you're not going to be ready until next year or something like that,
Mhm.
fine. Now you know. Now you know what you need to do, and now you know how to get ready.
Exactly. Exactly, Carly. So, hey guys, get off the fence.
And
Get off
that's
the
the other
fence.
thing. That's the other thing. People ask, is now a right time to buy? And what I will tell you
Yeah.
is, are you ready? Are you
Mhm.
ready to move forward?
Yeah.
That's the right time to buy,
It.
because your interest rate is going to go up or down, left, right, and center. Things are changed. We think rates might get better by the end of the year. They could get worse.
Mhm.
And you've sat here and paid another 6 months worth of rent to somebody else that doesn't help you at all when you could be in a home building equity. So the answer is, are you ready? Because if
Are you
you
ready?
are ready, then let's move forward, because
Let's
we
move
can't
forward.
control anything else.
That
And
part.
home prices don't typically go down.
I know.
So you wait 2 years from now, that same home that you would have bought this year is probably going to cost more. So
It is. It
typically,
is. Historically.
historically, you might have a small dip here or there, but
That
that
part.
line goes that way.
It does, and it continues to grow. Well, I think we've done enough for tonight, Carly, and I really love the scenario base. I really do,
Yeah,
and
I like
it's
that.
very
That's
meaningful.
helpful.
Yeah. So we'll do this again. Let's get together. Let's see what date in October works best for
Yeah.
us, and let's bless these people.
Yeah, we tend to do like once a month.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think this time next month would be Halloween, so people probably won't be doing that then. So
Mm-mm.
maybe like the first week in November or something like that. We
Oh,
can do another one.
oh,
We tend to do Tuesdays. So unless
yeah.
everybody gives us feedback that this day is bad, which I assume
Hmm.
if you're on here, this day is not bad for you.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
if give us feedback if you want this to be on a Saturday or something like
Hmm.
that, or if tonight's church night, whatever the case is, then
Right.
just let us know, and we can always at least do one on a different day and
Yeah.
see if people gravitate. So, yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Well, you guys had our contact information, Carly.
Uh-huh.
I'll put it up one last
Yeah, put it
time
one more
as
time.
we're exiting here. And let me get it up. Here's our contact information here. Once again, guys, reach out to either one of us. We can both help you. Carly
Mhm.
is the loan officer, and I'm the real estate agent here. And so we are a team here, guys, and
Mhm.
you have us backing you and helping you. So just reach out to us, and we'll gladly help you with this home buying process. All right. So till
Gladly.
next time, guys. Till next time, we'll do this again. All righty.
Bye,
So
guys.
Carly, thank you, honey,
Yes, of
for
course.
coming on this again. Always
Oh,
great.
nice. Okay.
Always great. All right. Well, good
Bye.
night. Good night. Got to go eat.
I know, right? There we go. Bye, girl.
Bye bye.